Hi guys, this is Nikki, you also known as Faces Trader, and you're watching the Awesome 10X Market Update. It's already a Friday, it's October 23, 2020, and this Friday ends quite a wonderful week for the Philippine Stock Index. You could see that the Philippine Stock Index closed the week 6,484, 2.2%. But what should be understood is that the Philippine Index was rising for the last 5 consecutive days. So that is a wonderful move for our Philippine Stock Index. Let's actually be happy that the Philippine Index has recovered and has been showing higher lows and confirming that bullishness. As you could see, for this entire week alone, let's take a look at the 1 month. You've got this is one day, October 16. This is your October 19. This is your October 20, 21, 22. So it was just 19, 20, 21, 22, and October 23, another up day. So it's been 5 consecutive bullish candlesticks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 consecutive days of positive movement. And that's a wonderful thing. Let's see whether we can get 50 consecutive days of positive movement. So let's take a look, of course, in your index. As you could see, your index is up. Let's take a look at your index. Let's take a look at your PSEI. Wait up, guys. Mali yan. Teka lang ah. Okay lang yan. So your index is up 139 points. Teka lang ah. So this is your index. From about there 1 2 3 4 5, so from about 5 9, it's now 6 5. You are gonna see this first resistance at 6 6. We see that our SMs and ACs could have a potential resistance here at about 1,997 for your SM, and for your AC a resistance here at about 800. It has now 775, another 25 peso move, and we might see a resistance. Let's take a look at your SM Prime and Ayala Land. Your SM Prime is 34.50. We think that SM Prime can even hit 36 to 38, so we have to be mindful of that. Those holding your SM Primes, just wait and see whether it can rally at as high as 37, 38. Your Ayala Land is also going up. Of course, we said Ayala Land can go to 36 to 38, and that is a confirmation. After SM Prime and Ayala Land, of course, your Mega World started to move up, albeit very slowly, but you could see there is a small uptick there. And of course, your Robinson's Land, let's take a look at Robinson's Land. After hitting a low 14, it's now at 16. So they are crawling up. Your Ayala Land and SM Prime have been moving up. And so take a look. After your BPI moved so high at about 75, it's consolidating with some profit taking. But as we said, BDO will follow suit, and BDO did indeed climb to 97. Yes, we can see a resistance at 100, 102, and another resistance here at about 112. Nonetheless, we know for sure that this 86, 87 is a very strong support. So BPI, BDO, Metro Bank is at 42. In fact, Metro Bank has been climbing. And so after hitting 42, there is apprehension on whether this will move a breakout. If it does, then it can go 50. But if it doesn't, then it goes back down. Your higher low is probably going to be at 38 for your Metro Bank. Now, because Metro Bank has been rallying, we said a perfect reopening move would also be your GT Capital. And we have not spared any positive remarks when it was trading at 400, 390 pesos. We're saying, be patient, be patient. Indeed, our patience got rewarded. Your GT Cap is up 449. I have GT Cap. I bought it at about 386. It was in my original portfolio. So I do think that I think GT Cap as a reopening theme is one of the names that will go back to about 500. And that is your first resistance indeed, but maybe it can go 700 someday. So let's see whether it can move there. Your AGI is a very good move. I think some of you invested in AGI at about 550 and 6. We said buy there. And when it was breaking out of 750, we did say that, wow, that was a breakout move. And it can continue all the way to 9 and 10, given that AGI's Andrew Tan has been making a buyback here at about 11 and here at about 5.5 to 6. So assuming that AGI had a buyback price of 12 and 6, that would be an average of 9 pesos, or probably if they bought more at about 550, their average would be just about 8. So in my view, it is very easy to assume that given the fact that Andrew Tan has repeatedly bought AGI, we can say that there's a mean reversion happening here, such that 750 and 8 would just be a buy on support if it drops there, and continuous move until 9 or even 10. So those who have AGI, just continue buying, and just hold your winners, especially if you've bought it low. Now, for your pandemic play, we are saying that next year we'll go to Japan, we'll go to Hong Kong, courtesy of Cebu Pacific, because we do believe that our investment at 41 pesos and 37 pesos Cebu Pacific will rally to 52 or 55 and then rally back to 64 and 70 come next year or next year. Of course, we have to wait about 1 year for that fruit to happen, but harvest it next year, plant it today, plant it tomorrow, plant it every day so that you can get your reward someday. True enough, those who planted their investments in Jollibee said that they're getting free Chicken Joy for a year or even 5 years, depending how much Chicken Joy they've bought and invested. So we have said that Jollibee at about 99, 110, 120, eventually this will recover, and that breakout of 150 will be supported, and that breakout will be great. So after that breakout of 150, indeed we got 179. Any drops of Jollibee we think will be supported. Chances are, if the market does drop, we do think that it will be supported here about 170 or even as low as 160. Maybe it goes to 200, 220, 230. Do be aware that 200, yeah, there might be some short-term support, short-term resistance, given that, of course, the pandemic will not automatically erase all the losses. But with the market happy and the market is seeing that there will be a recovery come next year, next year, you have the perfect reopening themes on Jollibee, Cebu Pacific, Macro Asia, GTCAP. Let's take a look. Okay, we have been saying that Macro Asia will recover, right? So indeed, we were saying that it will, and so far, maybe this resistance at 6 pesos would be your first minor resistance, but when it gets broken out, let's take a look at your next reward. It could be as high as 7, it could even be as high as 10. Do note that we take things one step at a time. The only way for Macro Asia to be 7 is most likely when your Cebu Pacific is already trading at 55 or 60 pesos. So it's really in tandem. We don't try to predict a very fast move, but we are investing, of course, for the next year, next year. Now, for those who have believed in us, Maxes, we said Maxes at 5 pesos will go back, assuming 6, 7. Once the market will recover, given that Jollibee will recover, your restaurants will recover, Maxes will still recover at 7. We do think that is possible. Same thing for your Shakey's Pizza. Let's see, Shakey's Pizza, it's going back to about 7. Those who bought at 5.50 and 6 pesos, you are rewarded here about 6.50. Nonetheless, do not be too in a hurry to sell because, you know, if the restaurants abroad have really climbed so steep, I'm going to show to you what happened to Domino's Pizza. So we have seen Shakey's followed all the pizza chains worldwide. Take a look from March, it's went from 280 to 430. Domino's Pizza abroad, and then take a look at Papa John's abroad. Papa John's abroad from 32 to 100. Your Chipotle went from about 400 to 13. So technically, all of your restaurants abroad were already showing this strength. This is your McDonald's abroad from 125 to 229. This is your Shake Shack abroad from about 28 to 79, $30 to about $75. Your Starbucks recovered from about $50 to $90. So we also said that, you know, QSR, which is Burger King, Tim Hortons, this one will be recovering even from $30 all the way to $60, $70. So given that there will be a worldwide recovery of your restaurants and especially your tourism industry, you don't want to actually sell your positions, and yeah, you should actually hold them. Teka lang guys, your index, take a look at your stats. So in the top three, then take a look at these numbers. Your Dito Telecom is so we were saying it was consolidating at 620. It might rally. It was sleeping, and then today it woke up. So it woke up with a reward. It went up to 660. Take note though that Dito Telecom had a resistance before at about 750. So those resistances will still be remembered by the market. Jollibee continued higher. Your SM and your AC followed suit. Your Ayala Land, your BDO, your SM Prime went up. Your URC followed up. BPI just consolidating. GTCAP followed up. Your AGI was very good. Your Mega World crawled. Your PLDT and Globe just crawling. Meralco just crawling. That's typical because utilities are not your best pandemic plays. They are just stable names. Your pandemic moves will come mostly from the companies that have been durog, and durog means battered down. And we said that the battered down names would be your airlines, your tourism place, your hospitality place, which is exemplified by your Cebu Pacific and your Macro Asia. And then, of course, the hospitality aside has restaurants and casinos. Those would be your we call them the carnage stocks, right? If you remember, we said you have to buy the carnage names, the casinos abroad, the airlines abroad, and really that's what's been happening. Nonetheless, we also said ASEN and Nikki should do continuously well, and let's take a look at them. So you could see that your ASEN here, let's take a look at that. Your ASEN continues higher. So it's just continuing higher. Those who have it, let's see, hold on to it. Actually, last night, all of our solars continued higher. And so most likely the trend is just your friend. We don't know whether it will go 5 pesos, 10 pesos. We know, all we know is that it's an uptrend. So if you have it, hold on to it. If you don't have it, wait for these corrective dips, just like what happened here at about 270, here at about 320. If this one makes a pullback back to about 340, that's when you enter. Now, we don't know really when it will pull back, no, but that is something that the market will tell us. Nicolasia has been pulling back after reaching 390. So 395 went down 397 to 382. Nonetheless, let me remind all that Nicolasia is a beneficiary of your electric vehicles, and so from 140 it's rallied to 4 pesos. It might consider a profit-taking move, but we do think that that profit-taking move is just a consolidation. And that consolidation does not negate the trend. The trend is not a reversal. The trend is just you have these resistances at 420, another resistance here at 440, and the final resistance at about 5 peso, 520. If you'll notice, FNI and Mark, they're also still going up. You've got resistances here at about 150, 160, 180. Your Philex Petroleum, which said that they would do the read bank, is consolidating here. And so your Philex Mining is also consolidating here at about 560. If Philex Petroleum goes up, chances are your Philex Mining rises too. Your APX, which also is a beneficiary of that Philex Petroleum trend, even if it's 186 here, might actually be just a consolidation to go resume back up. Some of your speculative names, no? Let's take a look. Your Dito actually rose from about 620, consolidation went back up. But there's this resistance at 7 and 750. So just don't forget about those resistances because those are still remembered by the market. Take note though that in the last 7 years, so let's take a look at the last 7 years, your Dito Telecom actually had this resistance at about 7 and 8. So it's not that easy to break those resistances. Just be mindful of them. Your Now Corp didn't sleep. I was just sleeping, so it's still sleeping. You still have that resistances here at about 6 pesos. So the market still has not forgotten that. And then, of course, when we noticed that MRC was being bought up, it's just really consolidating here. So consolidation can take a while. It might be sleeping for about 3 months or 2 weeks or 3 months or 1 month. We don't know. But so far it's just consolidating. After the consolidation is over, just like what happened here, it can result into another higher move. So just be aware of what's happening when a stock is consolidating. when a stock is consolidating, take note, it's gonna take some time, but it usually moves back up continuous on the uptrend. So this one was happening from 170 to 270, had a consolidation back at about 240, and then went back up, resuming the uptrend. So when you are looking also for companies that might reopen and be a beneficiary, let me tell you a few things. SSI here at about 115 looks to me as a great supportive area. Take note that the volume is there. The volume is really on the accumulation mode. Just like we said to be patient on GTCAP at 400, we want you to be patient in your SSI. We think that you can actually sell here at about 2 pesos someday in the future. So your risk is that it goes 15% lower here at 1 peso. But as long as you just keep accumulating, you might see your reward as high as 2 pesos one day in the future. Why should we be bullish on SSI? The reason why is because I do think that SSI's foray in Shake Shack Philippines, the foray in Crystal Jade, the foray in so many e-commerce efforts will be rewarded in the future. Now, why am I saying that? It's because, guys, I've seen a lot of luxury retailers abroad, like Farfetch, go from $6 to as high as $30. So that is a times 5 move. Farfetch sells everything online, luxury retailer, e-commerce as a whole, whether you're selling luxury or you're selling even just well, I know this might not be a good comparison because Etsy sells everything online, especially for the homemakers. But you could see that all the e-commerce efforts are actually 200, 300, 500% moves abroad. So this is, of course, one of the best moves we've got. Shopify, 300 to 1,100. So given the fact that SSI has really tried its best to do a shopping experience online, I do think that the Zara and all of the companies that are really trying their best to do very well in the shopping online world will eventually be understood by the market, even if it's gonna take a while. So take note that we said that Bloomberry was gonna go higher. Why? Because we've seen how casinos abroad have been going higher. It is actually a higher low. So take note that Bloomberry has done nothing except higher lows and higher lows. Even if it's just at 7 right now, it will eventually go back to 9. So if you want to make a reopening theme and you're asking yourself, what other reopening themes have yet to be played by the market? Casinos and some restaurants will still be a reopening theme. DNL to me is a consolidation on the up move, and DNL will still rally back to about as high as 9 pesos someday. So yes, those people who got in at about 4 or 5 will get their money's worth if they are investing for the next 1 year to 2 years, especially when the entire Philippine economy starts recovering. So it's gonna take some time, but it will happen. Take a look what's happening. We said M-wide construction will be slow. It's slow. Actually, it's not yet going up. Take note that M-wide here at 750 is sleeping, but this sleeping move is actually gonna consolidate and make a breakout back to about 10 in the next couple of months. So it's months, not days, but you might need to consider things that haven't rallied, like SSI, Mega Wide, what else haven't rallied? Um, well, GTCAP will continue to rally given that at 450 it's not yet over. Yeah, it will continue going up in my view. So yeah, so let's take a look at your questions if any. Also guys, given that EBS it's going to be a franchise renewal, I do think that this consolidation should be seen more as a profit-taking move only, given that the drop, you don't see a lot of volume sellers. So it's gonna take a while, just what happened with PNB. Take note what happened with PNB. It slept here at 22 before resuming up. 19 to 25, that was a 6 peso move. Then 25 can go to 30 in my view. And then there will be resistance at 33 and then 34. So any drops here at about 25, 26 area will be a buying area for PNB. Now, for the banks, let's take a look at your banks. East West has gone higher lows, broke up 850, and then continued higher. You've got resistances at 11. So yeah, in general, the Philippine market might see a resistance next week, especially if your SM Prime, your ACs, your SM, a typical move higher will still result into a stronger higher low. It doesn't mean that if the index will have a resistance at 6-7 that it's over. We just see that, okay, maybe this is your resistance, and then let's take a look at the higher low moves. Generally speaking, my understanding is that when the trend is already in the favor of the bulls, it can go as high as 7, 8, but it's gonna happen within a single year. Not this 2020, but maybe 2021. So, are you prepared for the reopening? Let's get your questions, if any, comments. Thank you and happy weekend. Any insights on the local versus the foreigners for pure gold? Actually, for pure gold, I wouldn't be worried. Pure gold will have a consolidation at about 42 or 40 pesos. I think right now, pure gold is trading at about 42, or is it 43? Wait lang guys. Let me see. Honestly, pure gold was seen as a pandemic-proof play. Given that right now, of course, the market is anticipating that we can actually recover, they aren't willing to pay a premium for pure gold given that the pandemic spike will no longer be around come next year. But if you ask me, pure gold, whether there's no spike in supermarket sales next year, I think that Pure Gold is a stable company. It is cash flow rich. It has so much consumers to really buy shopping necessities from, such that these drops will be limited in my view as much as just 40 or 38. If you're buying at 42.50, don't worry. I do think you will be able to sell at 48 come next year. So you shouldn't be worried. If you have pure gold as high as 43, 44, you can buy more at 42, or if you want to buy more at 37, you can. Actually, I think that this is a great opportunity to have some consumer staples even when the market is too focused on the reopening theme. As it's gonna be stable. Now for telephone and globe, also gonna be the same. So telephone, we said 1.3 was gonna be stable. So now it's 1.350. We're just steady there. It's gonna have some resistance at 1.480. It's gonna have resistance at some point, but it's not like a sell. It's more like you buy it and then you keep it. Same for globe. If you bought at 2000 or 2020 today, it's okay. You buy it there because eventually you're gonna be able to sell at 22. 2223. Similarly, we said that Philinvest will give you a cash dividend coming soon, November 11 X date. So for those who want cash dividends and actually a reopening theme, given that properties will, within a year or so, it will still give you that cash dividend. It will still recover. It's not going to recover so fast, but it's going to still be giving you a 10 to 20% gain. If you're willing to do that, I do think there is, of course, a very strong resistance right now at about 110. But eventually, this 92 cents, 96 cents will go back there. So if you're okay with getting 6 centavos and a potential 10 cents gain next year or next year, or sometimes if you wait too long, it's going to even go 140. You might as well put some money, not a lot of money, but put it there so that if the cash dividends come to you, you get your 6% yield, and you also get a great return come 5 months or 6 months from now. Let me take a look at some more questions. Any thoughts about the energy sector? Well, JG Summit, I said yesterday, actually, when it fell at about 63, that it was actually a good entry because, for JG Summit, it benefits on the reopening theme because JG Summit has a stake in your Cebu Pacific, it has a stake in Robinson's Land, it has consumption stable at about for their Robinson's Retail and their URC. So actually, JG Summit, in my view, is a stable. It's stable as a conglomerate. It's good in bad and good times. So I don't think that 66. Well, I think that JG Summit will go from 66 to 75, 80. It's not gonna give you a spectacular return, but it's not gonna give you a spectacular downside either. Like you'll get a lot of buyers at 63 to 60. Does it mean that higher companies with earnings like 500 billion per year not yet going up, has good ups. I don't understand. I don't believe there is a company in the Philippines that's 500 billion except your SM Prime and your SM Investments. What, or Ayala Corp? No, I actually think, guys, 1 trillion pesos is just $20 million. Is it $200 million? It's not actually a lot of money. I've been investing in companies with $5 billion market caps, $50 billion market caps, 1 trillion, $2 trillion market caps. The market cap is not a hindrance. It's all about how much growth can a company grow. So for instance, we always emphasize in our Awesome 10X classes that it's not a question whether the market cap is $10 million or $50 million or $500 billion. The question is, do you foresee the company becoming a 1 trillion company? Example, do you personally believe that Jollibee can be a 1 trillion peso company? If the answer is yes, then you should invest because you're looking at the 10-year upside, not a 10-day move, right? So you have to sometimes think, now actually, I'm not too confident that we can hit 1 trillion pesos for Jollibee. But I'm confident with the entire restaurant movement in the world. I'm confident that Jollibee can hit 200 pesos to 220 pesos next year. Next year, when the market reopens, your Jollibee stores will be not just relying on takeout, which is currently its only mode of delivery. Yes, there's dine-in, but dine-in does not really give that much impact. Similarly, Shakey's Pizza and Max's, the restaurants, I do believe that you will make a 50 to 100% move. It's not because they are 15 billion or 5 billion peso company, 1 billion peso company. It's not that. You have to think how much is gonna be the income of Shakey's Pizza and Peri Peri Chicken once the market reopens. How many OFWs will come back to the Philippines? How many tourists will come back to the Philippines? How many local Filipinos will go abroad for necessary things or for travel? The answer, I believe, is big. Therefore, I tell people, if you want to get a free trip to Japan, a free trip to USA, you invest in Cebu Pacific 3741, you don't think, oh, I have to make money tomorrow. No. Think about 2 years from now. You're going to go to Japan for free. Instead of buying a Cebu Pacific ticket today, buy a Cebu Pacific stock. Why don't you think about that? Now, people are asking Converge IPO. I have said that connectivity is important. You know that I've invested in Ericsson. I'm going to tell you that, yes, our Ericsson pick actually went up 20% already for us. Guys, sorry, I'm showing a lot of US. Kasi, I was looking at my US kanina. Actually, so many good companies on our US. But, so take a look. We bought Ericsson at 11, 5G play. It's gonna be the connection partner of our PLDT. It's now trading at 12.44. 14% up pa lang. But I do think that with the world, Filipinos, Americans, Singaporeans, Belgians, Europeans, anyone. Actually, China kasi they use Huawei, so they don't need to rely on Ericsson. But like for the Philippines, I do believe that our broadband connectivity is a necessary digital transformation. So what the market is doing for Converge is good, not for the company, but for the Filipinos. And the bigger the company, guys, give it 5 years time. My understanding is that Converge will go to the index. I believe in the next 5 years, if there's 2 million households today, we will have about 5 to 7 million households that will have Converge in their homes, residential. And that would be actually positive. Jason is saying, I wish there's more tech-related companies in the Philippine Stock Index. You know what? I've invested in US in games, Unity Software. We've made so much money in Unity Software, guys. That is a solar company. This is a solar company. This is Unity. We've bought 67, 77, 84, add more at 100. And I think this one will go $500. So, invest in companies you like. invest in companies you know because you will make money. Whether it's free chicken joy for a year, in my case, Unity makes so much money on Among Us, on League of Legends, Wild Rift. 53% of all the mobile games in your Apple App Store is made by Unity Engine. So it's a no-brainer stock for me. Awesome 10X makes so much money on Awesome 10X companies in the world. But also, we do invest in the Philippines, just a little in the Philippines because like so much great companies worldwide. What can you say about Wilcon? You know, home furniture is a great investment industry-wise. There's so much residential. In my view, I will be honest, home furnishing is not something that I have a huge, I don't have a position, but I think that um, it's okay. Like it's more of if there are people constructing homes, 'di ba? They'll need to buy from Wilcon. That is how it's played. Si Tugs po ba, ginagaya niya yung October 2012 chart niya? Salamat po. Is the promo of Cebu Pacific a free ticket? You know, for Cebu Pacific, in my view, aside from just buying an airline ticket for next year, di ba, they've got a lot of promotions, you have to buy the company itself. Because if 10 million Filipino passengers will fly next year, it's gonna be a great reopening play. So whether it be Cebu Pacific or Macro Asia, these are the companies like GT Capital is growing. Why is it growing, if you'll ask me? Because if you think about it, the Philippines cannot transition to electric vehicles next 5 days, 5 years. Honestly speaking, we don't have electric charging stations. We don't have electric vehicles. Yes, it's happening in US. Yes, it's happening in China. Yes, it's happening in Europe. Unfortunately, the Philippines don't even have 5G yet. Do you know in South Korea, they already have 5G since last year? So, you know, in the next 10 to 15 years, I think that the Philippines is always in primitive era, but we hope that you know in the future kasi Toyota has hybrid vehicles, and then I've seen Shell abroad. Shell has done investments in charging stations. They're converting charging stations from gas, diesel to solar. So, you know, I think that if you think about the future, the renewable is a great company move. So they are trying to hedge their bets to survive in the new world. The new world, guys, is offline merge online. Meaning, if SM has an offline store, you know the band that SM did e-commerce. So SM can also shop deliver for you. Yes, I do believe that GT Capital in the future, with all of their Toyota vehicles, they can adopt electric vehicles for you. Actually, my parents, they will not, you know, I tell them, hindi naman lahat ng Chinese or Filipinos, they can buy a Tesla. They cannot afford that. So they'll buy a Toyota electric vehicle someday. Actually, there is naman eh. It's just that we need electric stations and yun. People are asking, is it better to buy when foreigners are selling or when they're buying? You know, I don't really think too much about the foreigners eh. Whether the foreign, take note we have been recommending to buy GTCAP as early as 380, 390, 400, diba? We have been recommending to buy Metro Bank at 34, 35. I don't even check whether foreigners were buying there. Because Filipinos, even if we're not aware of what the foreigners are thinking, we are thinking, well, in the next 2 to 3 years, they cannot tell us that we're not going to use the banks, right? Yes, we know that they will not have a good profit, just like what BPI said, no good profits this year. The question is, we cannot function as a team, as a functional Philippines, without these banks, without them, diba? We cannot function without BDO and Metro Bank and BPI. It's not going to give us 10-20%, diba? So yeah, you have to just think of those. Sometimes do not think too much about you have to think like 5 years. What's gonna happen in the next 5 years? Sometimes just think about that. Yeah, actually, because of that mode of thinking, that's why I've not wavered in our bullishness on our Jollibee, di ba? And then the Jollibee rewarded kasi Jollibee had a great Tim Ho Wan. Do I know that Jollibee will buy Tim Ho Wan increased stake? I did it. How let's discuss US companies later, guys, because this is the Philippine market update. So I will give you a global market update later. Global, ang dami nating winners dyan. Actually, mas excited talaga ako everyday sa global. Pero yeah, so but I'm happy what's happening in the Philippines. I'm happy that the Philippine market has recovered, and I think that you should be happy with higher lows in the Philippine market. And just because the index has rallied doesn't mean that the index will not go up anymore. There will be resistances, but let's take a look where the higher lows will be. If you've invested early, keep on holding your winners, and let's see you again next Monday. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good day. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.